Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to connect. I've got a Boss Katana 100 watt 1x12 amplifier, guitar amplifier here. And I'm going to show you how to connect an external speaker cabinet which is 8 ohms. But what I'm doing here is might be a little bit different from the other videos on YouTube, because I think some of them they mute the internal Boss Katana speaker, but I don't want to do that. I want to run I want the option of running the 1x12 Katana amplifier on its own if I want, but I want to be able to plug in an external speaker to make a 2x12, and I don't want the internal Boss Katana speaker to be muted. I want to use both speakers at once. So I'll show you how we can do that. The general thing we're doing is we're going to wire the second speaker in series, and it can be plugged in and out with a cable, like, you know, with your typical cable. So I'll show you how to do that now. And by the way, this method won't void the Katana amplifier warranty, because I've only just bought mine, so I don't want to void the warranty. But maybe I'll just turn this around. Hang on a second. Just see if you can see. Yeah, so maybe in a year when the warranties run out, I'll mount one of these jack sockets. Can you see that? By the way, I'm new to doing videos. I don't really make videos, so I don't know what this camera's like, but I have to just hope it picks everything up. It's not too blurry. We'll just see what happens. So one of these mono jack sockets, I'll mount it in here after a year. It's just neater rather than having these down here. So at the moment, the job I've done, this is just a cardboard box. I'll do a better quality. Can you see on the camera? Yeah. This is a cardboard box. I've just seen if it worked. By the way, I've used this for 2 hours at a band practice the other night, and it's absolutely fine. Everything worked perfectly. There's no problems at all, and it's safe to do. But I'll explain all that as we go along. Okay, so what have we done? Oh, some more things to say. So the external cabinet I'm using has got a Celestian speaker in it. Check the camera again. Can you see? It's an 8 ohm speaker in there, 80 watt speaker. Now this is a 100 watt amp, and when we're using two speakers, obviously it's sending 50. If I was on maximum 100 watts, it's sending 50 watts to each speaker. So that's obviously safe and fine. Nothing's going to blow or anything, so that's fine. So you can use a 50 watt if you use 100 watts. You can use a 50 watt speaker if you prefer. Okay, so as I said, when we connect it, let me check the camera again. Yeah, so you know, this would go in here and this would go into there, and that's not, when I do that Katana speaker is not muted. Okay, so both running together. So one other thing, something else to say. Generally, speaker cabs like a Marshall cab or just the general standard, you know, the procedure what people do is a tip. Sorry. So the tip is positive, like for a positive speaker terminal. That connects to the positive speaker terminal, always. That's the general wiring procedure, what everyone uses. And this is the negative, the shield here, okay? So let's move on to what I did then. So you need to buy something like that, a mono jack socket. It must be a switching type. Now what that means is you've got the legs. I don't know why I'm using this stupid metal freaking thing. Right, so it's got the legs on either side, and what it means is when there isn't anything plugged into it, the volts to current or the power, you know, will go through there where I'm pointing there, and also here if you're using this one. It just goes through. When you plug something in, they're raised. Can you see? They're raised up. By the way, don't worry if you don't follow, if you don't really care about all this type of stuff. You could just copy exactly what I've done. It's going to work, okay? It's safe and everything. But I'll show you a way to test it too if you want to test it with a multimeter, which you can just. Right, so yeah. Anyway, these are raised up, so this is broken. You can't, power won't go through this anymore, and it won't go through that side either. Okay, because these are separate. So let's move. Yeah, so it's a jack socket, the switch and type what I've just shown you. And you'll also need some. Now, I'm not actually sure what these are exactly called. They're called spade terminals or spade connectors. You'll need male and female. You only need one male. I'll show you if it picks up. Oh, sorry, they're two males I'm holding up there. This is a female. It's got a plastic thing around, so you can't really see. But that's a female inside there. I'll show you a couple where I've stripped off the plastic. I actually stripped off the plastic before I worked on these because I just thought it'd be easier for me. And I like to add some solder. You generally put the wire through the hole and then you squeeze with, you know, something like these, if you can see them. You put the wire through that hole and you squeeze down really tight so it's safe. But I generally put some solder into as an extra thing. You don't have to if you don't use solder knives. You don't have to. Just make sure it's a really good tight connection. When you pull the wire after, when it's squeezed down, it's not loose and it's not going to come out. And it's really solid. Okay, so you can get these off eBay. You only need one male and one female, which I'm holding here. But you can, when you buy them, it'll generally come in a pack. You'll buy five of each, or 10 of each, or something. It's always good to have a few spares. So you can just, if you haven't done this type of thing before, you can just practice with a few. And what I mean by that is when you unplug, let's move the camera. I'll move the camera closer. When you unplug, when you pull the, sorry, we're not touching the positive here, so that's left. You can see this is a normal stock wiring when you buy the amplifier. There's a red wire going to the positive here. We're leaving that alone. The only one we're working with is this black wire. Now this is normally, forget all this orange stuff what I've added, the orange ones I've added. This black wire is normally connected to this negative thing here. Now the size we want of these little spade terminals, what we need to buy, is 2.8mm, okay? And because we're going to push one on, we're going to pull off the black one and use that in a different way. We're not going to void the warranty though. And so we push it on. Now they're 2.8mm, so look on eBay, for example, to buy some male and female, I think it's called a male tab and a female spade terminals or connectors. I'm sure you'll find them. It's not too hard to find them. Right. Now, what was I going to say next? Oh, one thing I found when I pulled off this black one, you just wiggle it off carefully and slowly. By the way, if you want a tip, don't just pull like this, start pulling it off. Hold this orange cardboard thing. You don't want to break anything because sometimes they can be a bit tight. What was that? Hang on a second. Sorry, ignore that. I've just seen if someone got home. Yeah, so hold and then wiggle off. You just wiggle off carefully. But hold here, don't just pull. Okay? So try to do that. And in general, when you're pulling things, if you're needing to pull these on and off, try not to pull the wires. What you want to do is hold here, on the metal and sort of pull them off. Because obviously if you pull wires, you might just pull the wire right out. Okay, so just a little tip. Right, okay, so where are we next? Oh, what I had to do was, although the ones I bought off eBay were fine, these tab terminals connector things, tab things I bought off eBay, they went on a little bit too loose on this thing, and you definitely don't want anything. This has got to be tight, really good connection. You could damage your amplifier, this has got to be a really good tight connection. So what I had to do, it's a common thing what people do, is you get some, something like this. This is huge. Try and get some smaller ones or something. And you'll need to, I don't know if the camera's in focus. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You just squeeze down these little bits here. Hopefully you can see. Is it in focus? I'll come back a little. Yeah, you just squeeze these tight, and then you can test, for example, with a male one you've got, if it goes in nice and tight. Look, you can see I'm kind of pushing that in this really tight connection. Like, that's what you want. don't go too, you might do it too far and you think it's just too, I've done it too tight. You could just throw it away and grab one of your other ones and start again. You know, just practice a little if you haven't done it before. So sorry, I'm rambling on, aren't I? Going on too long. Right, next up. So this is a makeshift box I made now, but I'll do something better later. So I'll just take this off. Move the camera back a little. So you could just see where I was just working. Take this off. Oh, jeez, it's taking all day, isn't it? Okay. Now, before I show you this, I'll just show you a quick thing I've written down. So, where are we? Oh, do you mind if I have some tea? I can hardly speak. Hang on. Right, how is that doing there? So this is the Boss Katana amplifier, and normally it's got the Katana speaker, which you can see there. The Katana speaker, which is 8 ohms, okay? And normally you've just got the red wire, that one, to the plus tab, which is there. Where are we? Here. And then the black wire normally goes, this is a negative, goes to the negative there, okay? So we're just working with this. So normally that's what you've got. So you can ignore this, and it's an 8 ohms. Now when we install the switch, when there's nothing plugged into this switch, you got a clue then of the wiring then, look. But I'll go through that in a second. So normally when nothing's plugged in, that means this, where are we? I think it was this one. Yeah, this is closed, which means it's just like this. The switch is in the circuit, but the amp is just operating like this, 8 ohms. Now when you plug something in, when you plug in the external speaker cab, can you even see that? Oh, this bloody thing. So you plug it, and that switch has changed now. And what we're getting, now we've got 2 speakers. We've got 2 times speakers wide in series. So now the amp can see 16 ohms, and the reason is you've got the plus, the red wire, which we haven't touched. But now the negative is what used to go back this way, if you remember. It goes back here. That's been that's been stopped now. And instead, that negative goes to the positive, which is the tip here. That's that wire. And when I plug it in, that goes, because I remember what I said earlier about the positive tip, that goes to the positive terminal of this speaker in here. And then the negative of the speaker in here comes back and it goes to the amplifier. So we're using 2 8 ohm speakers in series, and that means the amp can now see 16 ohms. Now that's safe. The Katana can use 8 or 16 ohms. Someone said to me, but you lose, I think you lose volume when you, instead of using an 8 ohm speaker, now you're using kind of two speakers to make 16 ohms, or just a single, if you were using a single 16 ohm speaker. That doesn't actually bother me if it's true, which I think it is true. Because at my band practice on 100 watt mode, I don't go above half volume anyway. So if for example, when I used the internal speaker and if the amplifier was 100 watts, and now if I use both of the speakers together, I lose something and suddenly the total of the amplifier becomes, let's say, 70 watts. That's still fine for me personally. I don't know how it'll affect you guys, but I don't care about losing a little bit by using 2 speakers. It sounds, as you can imagine, it sounds absolutely brilliant. It sounds much better in my opinion with 2 speakers. I could have bought a 2x12, but I don't want to lug around a heavy amp. This is 15 kilograms with the 1x12, which is really nice. 15 kilograms is a really nice weight. one more quick thing to say, and by the way, what I said about losing volume is a lot of it comes into how efficient your speakers are too. So for example, this speaker in here, you guys might not believe me for guys who know speakers, but if I remember, this speaker is 103 decibels, which is madness, you know. If you look on all the Celestion speakers, this is a Celestion speaker in here, but if you look at all the specs like the V30, which is a popular Celestion speaker, that one's 100 decibels. This is 103. It's a G12 Century Neo speaker, and it's 8 ohms. It's really lightweight, and they're absolutely brilliant. They've made a vintage. I don't think you can buy them anymore, but they've made a vintage version now. But I think that one's 102 decibels, if I remember. I think, but this original one they did, you can see it on the specs and stuff, is 103 decibels. So, I mean, that is just madness, you know, that's really loud. Anyway, sorry, I'm babbling, going off topic here. Right, so what's next? Now we'll move on to, I don't think we need to say much else, we could just move on to how it's wired. So, one more thing I would like to show you. This is for people who really don't want to damage their amplifier, want to test it before plugging in, and actually, because obviously we're using 16 ohms, that's fine, 8 ohms is fine, but if we ride these two in parallel, for example, then they'd come to 4 ohms. That's dangerous. You could probably, I think you'll damage the Katana amplifier. That's why we're wiring these two in series, okay? Okay, what I have here is a multimeter. If you haven't got one or don't know much about them, you can just get a cheap one off eBay for, like, you know, you get all this Chinese stuff now. But which is fun, you could just buy a small Chinese one for like a few dollars or something, as long as it can test resistance. So, which is like ohms. You can see little ohms symbols where I'm putting my finger. So I'm going to go to the lowest ohms reading I've got, which is 200. It'll vary from different multimeters. Mine's 200, so let's go to the lowest one I can find, because we're trying to measure 8 ohms or 16 ohms here, so 200 is as close as I can, the range is as close as I can get. So if I test, so there's nothing plugged in. If I test this Katana as it was, you know, when it came out, just normally with its normal speaker, with my multimeter, will it pick that up? Oh, let's try and point it down. Yeah, so I've got the pins of probes. I'll hold one to the red, and I'll hold one to the black. I know I've put this extra wire on going to the switch, but it's just like it isn't here now, the switch, because it's off, sort of thing. So don't worry, I'm just measuring. So the Katana 8 ohm speaker measures, one moment, 7 ohms. Now, I know some of you might think, well, I thought it was an 8 ohm speaker. It's never, depending on the accuracy of the multimeter, and it doesn't matter. 8 ohms just means it's close to 8 ohms. So my speaker says 7 ohms. So that's fine. That's an 8 ohm speaker. Okay, so it's closed. Now, so remember that's 7. If I measure this one, the ohms here. So I've plugged in there. And I'm going to, bloody camera. Oh shit. 1 second. So I've plugged that in. Because obviously I can't get to the speaker when that cab, it's closed. So I'm going to measure, plug it in a wire, and that's the positive and that's the negative. So I'll test. One of them on the tip, the probes. And one from here. When it stops, it says, so I'm not holding it very well. 1 second. 7.2 or 3. So they're both 8 ohm speakers. Now, so you'd think now in your head, if we're going to use both of them together, then the total reading we should get is 14 or 15, which means everything's working fine. So let's do that test now. So remember, oh shit. So what I'm going to do is plug in my, obviously none of the amplifiers are on, or this whole thing is do this with the amplifier turned off, of course. So I'll plug this in. Why is that all twisted? Okay. Some of you might think, oh, I can do this now. I don't need to watch the rest of the video because they've seen what I've done here. But anyway, leave that there. Okay, so one moment. So now we're measuring. Now I've got it plugged in. We're measuring from the red, the black, and the red wire to see what the amplifier, Katana amplifier, is seeing the value. So let's measure that now with both speakers connected. So hang on. There's the thingy. So with the external speaker cab plugged in, the 8-ohm cab, I'll hold one to red. I'll hold one to get out of the way. Shit. And you can see it's about 14, which is what we said. Can you see that's safe for the Katana amplifier? Okay, so that means that 13.9, 8 or 9 or whatever you see. That just means 60, we're using 16 ohms now. So you can see without plugging anything in and having to risk to see if it works, we know we're safe now. So when we're plugged in, when that's plugged in, we're 16 ohms. And when it's out, we measured before, it was 8 ohms, okay? So that's fine, everything works. When you buy these switches, what it shows you, don't buy the cheapest, crappiest piece of junk you can find. One second, I need some more tea, hang on. Thanks for your patience, guys. By the way, you can make fun of me in the comment section. I like all that stuff. Swear and go crazy, I don't care. When you buy these, don't buy the cheapest, crappiest thing you can find, for God's sake. You know, you've spent a few £100 or dollars or whatever you spent on your amp. Don't go and buy a 50-cent or whatever currency you use. Cheap, get something more reasonable, okay? Because if you buy, these will be too thin and they might break and your amp could fry. So don't buy complete junk, okay? Right, so finally, after 20 bloody minutes, we've got to the wiring. So all you do, leave the red wire alone. Where's that little weird pointy thing? I can see the comment section now. Just fast forward to 20 minutes into the video. So the red wire we leave alone, which goes to the positive. We don't touch that. Now the black wire we pull off here. Where are we? So this thing here, we pull off carefully off here. And with one of our spade connectors, I could probably pull it out if you really want to see, but actually it's a really tight connection. I don't really want to pull it out, but so I just made such a good tight connection. So you have the wire go in here and you push it on to this male spade tab. You push onto the already existing female thing here, and if it's loose, which it probably will, but it might be, tighten it down a bit with, make sure this is really tight. If I pull this now, I got mine on so tight that it's absolutely not going anywhere. That's really tight, good connection, okay? Okay, so that's one, and you just connect a wire. We'll be connecting to the switch, which I'll show you in a second. You could just use any wire. Make sure the thickness is good wire, at least as thick as what Katana the boss reviews. Don't use really thin wires, for God's sake. Okay? It's a good solid wire. And on the other side, we have a wire which I've added a female connector, because we've pulled the black wire off, obviously. So the female connector, which I purchased off eBay, is now the new one, which goes on to, you could plug it on the bottom one or the top one. They're both connected. So I just choose the same one the bottom one was originally plugged in. So I pushed it onto here, make sure that's really tight too. So if I pull, that's not coming off. It's not coming off at all. That's a really good solid tight connection. Okay, so the wiring, let me just twist this around so it's not confusing. 1 second. Like this. Okay. rest of the wiring is, as you can see. I'll come back. Okay, so I made a mistake at first. I don't know why I didn't just do it again and use a new, but I made a mistake at first. Oh, wait. I soldered here by mistake, so I ended up just taking it off. So ignore what mistake I made there. So all you're having is the black wire. Black wire comes down, connects here, and you need another wire or a connection to go here. Oops, sorry, I'll do that again because I wasn't even on the camera. So the black wire comes down, which is on this side. Can you see? Yeah. So there's the black wire coming down, connects here, and connects it here. Okay, so they're connected now. Now the positive, this camera is a disaster. Oh, I've just figured it out, that's just better. So that was a negative, and on the, sorry, this was a negative wire, okay. Now on a negative terminal, we come down here, and that one connects here. And that really is all you need to know. So just copy what I've done. If you don't understand all the technical details, it doesn't matter. You just copy exactly what I've done and make sure everything's tight and use good thickness wire. Okay. And then when you're done, you can just make something like, oh, I didn't put the little red thingy on. Like it makes all the difference, isn't it? Oh, shit. Just came off. Come on. Oh, shit. I wonder if anyone's watching this far now. Oops. So when that's, you know, you just tighten it on. As I say, I'll use a nice plastic or wooden little box, or not. This is just a test. And that's it. And just to repeat, I did use this as a band practice. It was awesome. I don't know what. Hang on a second. So I'll hang it up. You know, hang it. I'm not going to start using glue and mess around with it because I don't want to avoid the warranties. So I'll maybe tie wraps. Someone had a good idea to use tie wraps. Or, you know, I'll just leave it around. At the practice, actually, I just left it outside, just plugged in my... I just kind of left it like that and just plugged in. Uh-oh, someone's just shown up. For the last time, you don't even live here. Who are you? But you're so adorable. You okay, Pally? I just call the cat Pally. I don't even know what the cat's name is. Come on in. I've been giving it chicken. Come here. You want to say hello to everyone? Everyone, the 10 people watching. Come on in. Where were we? I can't remember what I was saying. Oh, we're at the end anyway. You can hang around and watch me play with this cat if you want. Do you want a stroke? Come here. Come on. If you've got fleas, you don't know what trouble you're in. This is why I need to close the door. I'm just kidding, by the way. We love this cat. It was kind of wildish when we when I moved here, and yeah, I give it chicken, and they just keep coming back, don't they? There's another black one outside, which is starting to. Oh my god, what are you doing near there? Anything else to say about this? Oh, if you're still watching the video this late, I did notice my cabinet here with the 103 decibel Celestion speaker in was louder. I could hear it more, not a huge amount, but I could hear it more than the Katana amplifier speaker, the custom one Boss made. So Boss are funny because there's no specs available. You don't know what the hell. You know it's 100 watts, they say so, but you don't know what sensitivity is. So you don't know what decibel rating this is. It could be 100, it could be 97. But I wonder what the hell. I'd be quite interested to know what it is. But it's not 100. It's not over. I don't think it'll be much over 100 because I could hear this speaker. Definitely notice that one more. Okay, I really think we're at the end now. Is there anything else to say? I'll just try and think I've forgotten anything. Anything else? Anything else? No, I think that's it. So me and the cat. Don't be shy, come here. Come here. You don't have to rub your face against the thing. I'll stroke you if you come here. Come here. Are you gonna, maybe you're gonna jump up? You wanna jump up? Go on. Do you want some chicken? Where's that cat going? Well, from me and the cat, see you later.